Okay, so sitting down, lying down, standing, turning your video off, whatever works for you. This is your practice. And as we started on Monday to explore just in the physical practice, the options, there are always options and choices and how it feels in your body. Yeah, so there's always a different way. And we're trying to make the practice unique. That really is the goal, not to everyone to look the same, but to make it unique. So coming to a comfortable seat or comfortable lying down or standing, sitting on a chair. I have my chair here. I'm going to do a little bit of demonstrating on the chair also. Having blocks and blankets and pillows and whatever you need as props always to get in that habit. And then settling in and focusing on the breath. To allow the body to rest. To consciously come to your practice, settle into your mat. Allow the body to become still as you move it around and find a comfortable way to sit or lie. And then following the breath from beginning to end. Breath drawing in through the tip of your nose, filling the thoracic body, and then leaving out through the tip of the nose if possible. Not changing anything. Not expecting anything or judging. Just the breath with your natural rhythm. And I'm going to assume that everyone's here for a different reason. Because even if you're here to work the physical body, that looks very different for everybody. So thinking about what brought you here, physical, mental, emotional, whatever it is, and shortening that to a word or a phrase. And then placing it in an I am statement and repeating it softly to yourself a few times as if it were true and already happening. And then gently drawing the focus or allowing the focus to come back to the breath. The breath as it rests the body. Allowing the breath, the awareness of the breath to bring you into this moment. As we start to allow the thoughts to settle. Thoughts tug at us. Life kind of tugs at us. And we all become aware of it and react to it or respond to it in a different way. So if you have the image of a mud puddle and then the image of a large dog and a very little dog. And the large dog walks through the mud puddle and his paws are all muddy. And the little dog walks through the mud puddle and his legs are muddy, his chest is splashed, he's a mess. But the big dog with just the muddy paws might be just as upset as the little dog. We all have that mud that we're walking through, and we don't get to judge whether it's better or worse for me or you. It just is. But how we respond to that, that's the choice we get to make. How we respond to how we feel in our bodies. Because children would come to that mud puddle and just stomp their way through it and splash as hard as they could. And we jump over it, walk around it, tiptoe through it. What's easier? What's easier is different for everybody. And just because it's easy doesn't mean it's not challenging. Can we find a way to practice yoga that's easy and experiment and challenge and explore? So coming to our practice without expectation, letting go of judgment or a visual picture of what the poses should look like, letting go of all the shoulds. And just being in the pose with the breath and finding a way to make it easy. If you're sitting, maybe you're coming to lie down. And with your inhale, extend the arms out, around, up until they land, reaching in back of you, wide, together close to the ears, elbows bent. What feels good here as you just rest with arms extended up overhead? Are you aware of efforting in another part of the body? Have you arched your back and lifted the ribs to the ceiling in an effort to draw the arms above? Can you soften through the back body? Soften into the shoulders. And with your exhale, floating the arms alongside the hips again, finding the breath. Deep inhale, filling the front and back of the heart space, and exhaling, drawing one knee and then the other in for a hug. And then rested stillness there. Don't be in a hurry to move into and explore the pose. Soften first. Check in with your foundation, shoulders, hips. Let go of efforting. As you exhale, gather the belly. Maybe the thighs come just a little closer, maybe not. Maybe you rock from side to side using the breath to guide you. Finding your edge. So just practicing in these poses and these flows that we've done hundreds of times before to bring awareness. What do I feel? What do I notice? Is this different today than it was last week? Can I find an easy way? And then coming to stillness, releasing any bind that you have and floating the feet to the earth so that the knees face up to the ceiling. And then find an active foundation. What does that mean for you? And then let go of all the efforting. With your exhale, the belly gathers and hugs towards the earth beneath you, opening up through the lower back. Not forcing, just allowing. Inhaling, hip points rock towards the thighs, the heart lifts slightly, opening up through the front body. Moving in and out of pelvic tilts so that you're just rocking You're rocking forward and back on the sacrum, scooping up the pelvic bowl to open up through the back body with that exhale, and dumping forward to open through the front body. Exploring gently with the breath. Notice what you notice without any judgment or expectation. And then finding stillness there. And extending the left leg straight out onto the floor. And the right foot comes to the shin or the thigh, but just not the knee. Maybe just alongside the thigh or alongside the shin. And then the left hand comes to the outside of that right knee. And maybe the right arm opens out to the side. Soften there. With your exhale, you're drawing that right knee over to the left, coming into a gentle twist. With your inhale, you're coming up to center. Exhaling, drawing that knee over, guiding it with your hand if that feels good to cross over, rolling onto the outside of the left foot. Moving with your breath, exhaling over into the twist, inhaling up to center. Maybe 2 more rounds like this. Meeting your body wherever it is today. Notice what you notice without judging it. And the next time you inhale up to center, find stillness, allow that right foot to float back to the earth, and then slide it, extend it straight out in front of you. Use the exhale to soften through the entire back body. The inhale to fill the front and back of the heart space. The exhale to find an easeful way to rest. With your next exhale, that left knee bends and the left foot comes to the shin, next to the shin, to the thigh, or next to the thigh, inside the thigh. The left arm extends out onto the floor, out to the side, and the right hand comes to the outside of that left knee. With your exhale, gentle twist, rolling over to the right with the shoulders resting on the earth. Inhale up to center. Exploring the twist on this side. Noticing this side's a little different, maybe. Probably. We're not symmetrical. Just allowing for that difference. Meeting your body wherever it is today. Right hand drawing the left knee over. Breathing into that space across the collarbone for 2 more rounds of breath. The next time you inhale up, finding stillness there. Maybe extending that left leg straight out onto the earth. Maybe this doesn't feel right for you, so you're bending the knees and placing the soles of the feet on the floor. So I encourage you to find a way to make the pose easy. Even if it's not something that I suggest. If we pay attention to our bodies, it will become intuitive what we need to do to accommodate. With your next exhale, one knee and then the other draws in for a hug, pausing there, and then maybe getting some movement. And then finding stillness, allowing the feet to float to the earth. allowing the feet to be hips distance. Finding your foundation, resting the shoulders, the soles of the feet, the back of the head on the earth, and then letting go of any efforting. As you root into the soles of the feet, maybe you become aware of all the muscles in the legs becoming active. Active, not efforting. With your inhale, as you root down, you can lift the hips straight up. With your exhale, lower them back down. Maybe you're lifting an inch or two. Maybe you're able to roll up the back body until you rest on the shoulders that are rooted to the earth without any efforting in the back of the neck. Coming into rolling bridges, inhaling up, exhaling down, or maybe you're resting in stillness and imagining the hips lifting, the heart opening, and imagining or visualizing rolling down one vertebra at a time. Your practice, your body. Moving with the breath. And the next time the hips settle onto the floor, finding stillness there. Maybe noticing that you were gripping or you do have some tension somewhere. Can you use the breath to soften, to release, to rest a little heavier into the earth for 2 more rounds of breath? And then maybe, hopefully, you have a strap nearby, but no worries if you don't. And just taking that strap as you rest on your back with the knees bent and placing it around the big toe, pinky toe, ball mound of your right foot. So drawing that right knee in, placing the strap around the foot so that you can inhale and extend and reach up towards the ceiling with a soft bend in the knee, right? And then just notice what you notice. Do you feel like you're leaning more on one hip than the other? Can you find the center and then use the pit of the belly to secure you there, to create that foundation? Is the left knee popping out to the side, or can you activate the foundation through the left foot? How are the shoulders? The jaw, the back of the neck. Are you breathing easily? How does this feel? Do you have the strap in one hand or both hands? Either way. Maybe your arms are straight, but the shoulders still rest on the earth. Or maybe you're bending the elbows and allowing the upper arms to rest on the floor and holding the strap that way. Just exploring the back of the leg, the back body, and how you are in the pose. With your next exhale, bend the knee, draw it in, release the strap. Let that foot float to the floor. Take a couple of rounds of breath here. Maybe you need to let something go, some tension that you're aware of. And then we'll come to the other side. So find a way that's easy for you to hold the strap. One hand, both hands. Straight arms, elbows bent. And then explore how you are in the pose. Did you lose the foundation? What are you aware of? Is there some efforting? How's the breath? Can you be in this moment and let the thoughts settle? Breathe into the pose. and how it feels in your body. Always the choice to come back down to the earth before I suggest it, right? To let that foot come down, whatever it is, to come back to the original resting pose. With your next exhale, draw that knee in, release the strap, place the strap to the side, let that foot come to the earth. So that can be considered standing, big toe, thumb, hand to big toe pose, right? You're lying down and you're extending the leg. And if your arms were long enough and you had the flexibility, the ability, you could take your big toe between your thumb and your first two fingers. You get the same benefit from the pose lying on your back. Rolling over to one side or the other. When you're ready, press yourself up to sit. So, and then we're going to let the feet come to one side, the hips to the other. Maybe using a chair if it's nearby, or bed, a piece of furniture to help you come to stand. So that you're moving slowly, mindfully, one breath, one movement at a time, and then coming to stand. If you have a chair nearby, great. If you don't, you can just watch. Before we do the chair can be for balance. Maybe you have some blocks nearby. The chair's for balance. So another workshop-y practice, just to explore the poses, some poses, and to let you experiment with how they feel and to make choices for your practice. So maybe you have one block, maybe you have two blocks in front of you, the chair or a piece of furniture, the wall for balance. And you allow the weight to shift over the left leg. And extend that right leg out so the heel rests on the blocks or block straight out in front of you. And then we rest here and experiment with the pose here. Are you collapsed into that left hip? Are you rooting into that foundation, the sole of the foot, activating the muscles, drawing that hip in, lengthening straight up through the crown of the head? That's to keep you safe and stabilize the pose, right? And then we can feel that lightness of the breath in the upper part of the body, or we can allow the breath to move a little deeper. How does this feel? The right foot is flexed and it can become active as you reach into that heel. And maybe this is where you'd stay. Maybe you experiment with lifting the fingers of the right hand, extending to the earth, maybe raising them, reaching them out in front of you. Maybe the left hand comes to the left hip and you're aware of the foundation and the work in the core to keep you lengthened up to the ceiling. Maybe you can bend that right knee and lift the foot off the blocks and then extend back into that heel. Finding an accessible way to come into an extended standing. Maybe you're able to bend that knee, draw it in, maybe with support. so that you can get your thumb to the toenail, the first two fingers wrapped around, so we say peace fingers wrapped around that big toe, and you can reach into the heel and see what that feels like. Soften through the shoulders, root down, lengthen up. Oh, maybe this really doesn't work for you. And you're coming back to extending the leg and finding a place that felt really good for you, that felt easy but challenging. And maybe the challenge is focusing on the breath and letting the thoughts go, because your mind is active today, and you're letting go of the challenging stuff in the body so that you can find the breath, smooth it out, and let go of the thoughts. Just noticing, no judgments, just awareness. And then bend that knee, float that foot to the floor, shake it out, let it go, get some movement. So now you have some expectation for the other side, right? Because you've done one side. Let go of the expectation. Come into this side, curious about what you might find. So that now we're always starting in Tadasana, rooting to the earth, allowing the breath to settle us into the foundation, finding the breath. And we're shifting the weight into the right leg so that we can extend the left leg straight out in front of us. A block, 2 blocks. The floor, right, is an option. The floor is an option. Extend it out in front of you. So maybe you're Goldilocks and you're trying all 3, the floor, 1 block, 2 blocks. What is just right? So that you can settle and find the breath. And then experiment. Root down, lengthen up, become aware of the breath moving in the body. How does this feel? Maybe you move a little deeper and you experiment with lifting that leg and keeping the long body, no efforting in the lower back. How's the standing leg? Just checking in. Do I still feel the ease of the stillness of this pose? Building strength in the body, guided by the breath. Letting go of the thoughts of what the pose should look like. Maybe you're trying to find that big toe, hand to big toe on this side. What does this side feel like? Super awkward. Let it go. Find an easeful way to be in the pose. And when you're ready, bending that knee, floating it to the earth. Shake it out, let it go, and land in your Tadasana. Exhale, sigh the breath out. Maybe softly close your eyes, maybe find a gazing point. Become aware of the breath moving in the body. Let go of any efforting you might find, any tightness. Where were you holding or gripping? Let it go. And then softly blink open your eyes. Maybe you can see your screen from there, maybe not. So another way of coming into the pose, you don't have to try it, is to use the chair. So now you're up even higher, all right? And you can experiment from there, right? Okay. So just letting you know that there's always a way to challenge yourself and still make it easy throughout the practice. And we have the benefit of Zoom and being in your own space. So nobody has to see you. I don't even have to see you. And you can move it around and you can be okay with, well, everyone else is doing whatever. I'm going to do this and see how it feels. And that can also be sitting down or lying down and focusing on the breath. Since we're standing, we'll take a look at standing forward fold, wide-legged standing forward fold. So maybe you have a chair nearby, or maybe you have blocks, and maybe you think a certain way about forward fold and how it should or does look in your body. We're going to let all of that go and just experiment for a few rounds of breath. So we're walking the feet nice and wide. The pinky toe sides of the feet are kind of sort of parallel with the edges of the mat. How does that feel for you? Can you adjust so it feels good? So you're on the long side of the mat, so you feel safe. Feet are wide, and wide is relative, right? How wide feels good for you. And then we find that foundation, we commit to it to keep us safe. So there's weight on the pinky toe side and the big toe side of the foot. Toes resting there. The legs are active. That's how we get that foundation. Because from the hip sockets down, we root to the earth. And automatically you'll find the core muscles engage, and then you can lengthen up to the ceiling. And maybe this is where you're staying, finding an easeful way to come into the foundation of the pose and find the breath. And maybe the hands come to the hip creases. So not the waist, not the hip bones, but where the legs come into the hips. And there should be a little space there for your hands to rest. Thumbs and, what do I have? Thumbs and pointer finger maybe. Inhale there, exhale, find the foundation. Inhale, lengthen straight up. Keep the space from belly button to heart, and slowly hinge forward as you bend the knees. You'll feel the hips, the hip crease closing around your fingers, yes? And maybe you place one hand and then the other onto the chair. And then maybe you root into that and you find that the arms become active, the muscles around the shoulders engage. Or maybe you have blocks and they're on their highest. And you're rooting into the blocks because you feel that you have more movement in the hips. Remember, we didn't do a whole lot of warm-ups today, so be gentle, be kind to your body, be aware. Is that forward fold coming from the hips, in fact, or is it coming from the waist? With your exhale, root into the feet. With your inhale, come all the way up to stand. So we've experimented with this before. Maybe one hand comes to the space just below your ribs, between your belly button and your ribs, palm of the hand just resting there. And inhale, become aware of that space. Exhale, hinge forward. Don't let any folds happen. Keep the heart reaching, the belly hugging in and up. So the palm is still resting. Yes. Now you are hinging from your hips. Wherever you land, you land. And then you find your foundation, whatever it is, chair, blocks. And sometimes it has something to do with the length of your arms, the relationship to your body, your legs, how wide your stance is. Not just how tight your hips and your lower back are or aren't. But anatomy is part of it, so honor that. It is what it is. Let go of an image of how it should look and come into that forward fold in an easy way. Nice, hinging from the hips, allowing a lengthening through the back body. Taking that pressure of gravity, compressing, is gone. Now we can find some space and the breath moves there. With your next exhale, commit to the foundation, gather the belly, and inhale. Come all the way up to stand, heel, toe, step the feet together. Pause there. If you have a chair, come to sit on it. So maybe you took a hike and you sprained your ankle. Maybe your knee is really kind of bothering you today, but you really want to practice yoga. You're going to stay in the chair for the whole time or on the floor, and you're still practicing. So we can come into a forward fold, seated, but then we have to be extra careful. I'm going to come sideways. About the back body. So we find the sitting bones, and we root down and we lengthen up. We soften the shoulders up, back, and down, and we keep that long spine. And if you're comfortable sitting on the floor, you can try this sitting on the floor. If you don't have a chair easily accessible, maybe you're propping a pillow under yourself. So seated on a chair or the floor, still seated, right? Still less pressure on your ankles or your knees. And maybe you're inhaling there and lengthening up and exhaling again, hinging forward from those hip creases. No wrinkles in the belly, no shortening of the space of heart to belly button. Soften the back of the neck, soften the shoulders down, the back and together. This is a forward fold. You're still getting the benefit of lengthening through the back body, from the backs of the thighs, straight up through the crown of the head. Inhaling, exhaling in and out of it, experimenting with what position is easy for you. Maybe it becomes a little, you're able to express more with each breath, just experimenting with that. And you can always add arms, right? Inhaling, coming all the way up to sit. Maybe, and don't worry if you don't have it, I'm just showing you. Maybe you want to add a little bit of a challenge to the backs of the legs. I have 4 blocks, 2 stacked, 2 together. So I can raise my legs a little. And if I inhale and exhale, now I come into the backs of the thighs, but without efforting, standing. Maybe this is more accessible to me. I'm still flexing the feet, reaching into the heels, drawing the toes to the knees, really working on that lengthening through the back body, that opening through the front body. My body's still responding to gravity. There's work, but it's easeful, and the breath is smooth. And inhaling, coming all the way up to sit. And letting that go, shaking up, moving the legs and the hip sockets. Some people who have practiced with other yoga teachers, other studios, maybe you've come into a forward fold with legs extended on the floor. I'm going to model it sitting in a chair. And teachers encourage you to take a strap and place it around the big toe, pinky toe, bottom of the feet. And we still inhale and lengthen, but this gives a little foundation to become aware of the shoulders, of the arms in the shoulder sockets, of efforting into the elbows. Maybe you can find that slight bend in the elbows and still have active arms reaching into the feet, using that foundation to lengthen. Maybe exhale, hinging forward, walking the hands closer, finding a place to rest. Still long front body, so inhaling, lengthening the heart away from the belly, gazing softly to the floor, so no efforting in the back of the neck. Yeah, great. Cool. Inhale all the way up to sit. Let it go. Shake it out. just want you to know that you can always practice yoga. And as I want to age gracefully, I bring it to you, knowing that I will always be able to find a way to practice yoga. One last way, and you don't have to do it. I'm just going to model it. Maybe you're feeling really unbalanced. You're bringing your hips to the wall, walking the legs wide, and hinging forward from there. Now you feel super stable. The hip points reach back to the wall. Rest there. We hinge forward from the waist. You even have a foundation to reach from the waist down, reach the hip creases back, and lengthen through the back body. Check it out if you want to. Optional. Hips to the wall, legs a little bit wide, hinging forward with the support of a chair. The back of the chair, the arms can rest on it alongside your ears. The front of the chair, the palms of the hands can rest, and you can create some strength in arms and shoulders. There's always another way to come into the pose. After a few rounds of breath, if you're experimenting with this, finding a way to come into it, come all the way back up. Come back to your mat. Okay, we are gonna use the chair. Coming to sit on the edge of the chair so that you use the core body for support. You're not relying on the back of the chair. Nice. Soles of the feet rest on the floor. Knees are in front of the hips. Shoulders up, back, and down. Always checking in. How am I resting in this pose? Am I resting with awareness, with alert awareness? How's the breath? Is there some place that I can let go of gripping or tension and make the pose even easier? Aware of the breath in and the breath out. With your exhale, the belly gathers and the right knee draws in. Maybe you hug that knee in. Right, this is the same as lying on the floor and hugging that knee in. Same benefit. Maybe you can't get down on the floor. You can still practice yoga from the chair. Soften the shoulders, lengthen. Keeping that right foot flexed, cross the ankle over the thigh. Allow the knee to settle, the thigh to settle towards the earth. Same active awareness of the core body lengthening you up to the ceiling. But now you feel this maybe in the outside of the right leg, the right hip. There's sensation, but not pain, right? Pigeon pose, seated, right? Same as when we lie down, but maybe you're not getting on the floor today. We can experiment with inhaling, lengthening, and exhaling, hinging forward from those hips so slowly, because this can add a whole lot of sensation with very little movement. Where do you pause and rest and find the breath? And maybe then you can inhale, lengthen again, and exhale, maybe add a little more hinge. Maybe not. Maybe you're actually backing out of it because it's become too much and it's not easy anymore. Your body, your practice. Maybe 2 more rounds of breath. Exhale there, lifting the knee back to the chest and then floating that foot back down to the earth. Moving out of the pose, just as important. Doing that mindfully, coming into the pose mindfully, shake it out, let it go. With your next exhale, we root down. With your inhale, we lengthen straight up through the crown of the head. exhaling that left knee in. Already I notice this side's different than the other. So I kind of accommodate it, honor it, find an easy way to draw the left knee into my chest. Then keeping that left foot flexed, I allow that knee to open towards the earth. And find the breath. Maybe I inhale, lengthen, exhale, hinge a little forward. Notice what you notice. Find the breath. Find an easy way to rest in this pose with the shoulder blades still at the center of the back, with the heart space open, soft back of the neck, long spine. With your exhale, the belly gathers. With your inhale, coming all the way up to sit, hugging that left knee in and then floating it down, and shake it out. Just move the legs and the hip sockets, let it go. Maybe we'll extend into that right foot, flex and point. Make some circles through the ankle and reverse the circles. Fan the toes away from each other, curl them in. And then slide the right foot in and we'll come to the left. Flex and point in the left foot. Make some circles, slow, mindful. Toes skim the earth out to the side and around, and reverse those circles. And then fanning the toes out and curling them in. And coming to stillness. We will, let's see what time it is. Yeah. Let's come to stand mindfully. So maybe you're coming to stand the way we did on Monday. We're rooting into the sitting bones, lengthening, keeping that long spine, finding the feet rooted to the earth. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Press into that foundation and inhale all the way up with strong legs. Yeah, nice. Let it go. Come to the top of your mat, whatever the top is for you. And we'll take some sunsets, have sun salutes, just to have a little bit of flow. Linking one breath, one movement to the next. So we're coming to mountain pose. Already you have an idea of what this is going to look like. So we let that go. And we experiment with the breath in the body and root down and lengthen up and extend through the fingertips. And breathe into the heart space. And land here in this moment. With your inhale, we float the arms out, around, and up. And with your exhale, we take that hinge forward, softening the knees. Lengthening through the crown of the head, maybe exhaling, reaching the hip creases back. Inhaling, maybe we straighten into the back of the thighs a little. Exhaling, maybe we hinge a little closer to the earth, but without collapsing that space from belly to heart. Always hinging from those hips. With your next exhale, feet root to the earth, and with your inhale, come up with a flat back, a long spine, maybe reaching through the fingertips and bringing it to the heart space. And then make the flow your own. I'm just going to offer breath. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling. Maybe exhaling, rooting down. And maybe inhaling, coming all the way up. And bringing it to the heart space. And pausing there, resting in the stillness of Tadasana. Finding the breath. What happens to the thoughts when you're bringing awareness to the mind, to the body and the breath? With your inhale, we extend towards the earth. With your exhale, we root down. Inhaling, floating the arms to extend. Exhaling, hinging forward. Inhaling to find length. Exhaling, exploring the pose. Inhaling, keeping that length. Exhaling, rooting down. Inhaling all the way up to stand. Exhaling, floating it to the heart center. Pausing here in the stillness. Aware of the thoughts, perhaps. Aware of the body. Aware of the breath. Letting go of the thoughts. Mindful of the breath. Allowing it to move freely. To breathe into the front and back of the heart space. To allow the side ribs to expand. To allow the breath to fill completely. And then softly exhaling. Softly blinking open the eyes if you've closed them, extending the fingertips towards the earth. Inhaling, arms out, around, and up. Exhaling, hinging forward. Inhaling, finding that length. Exhaling, deeply bend the knees so that you can step one knee and then the other down to the earth. If you have your chair easily accessible, maybe you're choosing to use that to come into child pose. Maybe walking the big toes together and the knees wide and allowing the hips to settle towards the heels. Maybe you're inhaling to find the length through the front body and exhaling, folding forward as you stack the arms, the forehead rests. Maybe you're on the chair, maybe you're on the floor. Find an easeful way to come into child's pose. Maybe it's not the way you usually come into it, but it feels easy. The breath is moving freely, and the body can rest and open. The body can accept the breath. Front, back, side body. Fill with breath, shoulders soften. Hips soften. Maybe this doesn't feel so easy for you. Maybe you're placing a block under your hips or a blanket in back of your knees between your calves and your thighs. Two more rounds of breath here. Resting in child pose. And then inhaling yourself up to sit so that you can let the hips come to one side and the legs to come out in front of you. As we find our way to walk down to the mat or bring our bodies down to the mat, knees are bent. Maybe you want to experiment with the core. So you're coming into boat pose and slowly rolling, carving out the belly and coming down. Maybe you're rolling to one side and coming to lie flat on your back, or coming elbows as you come down, finding a way to come to the mat. To lie on the floor and release and soften into that support. Maybe your knees stay bent. Maybe they extend out in front of you. Maybe you try one way and then another. And then you become aware of the breath. And use the exhales to let go of any remaining gripping, efforting tension. Then you're bending one knee and then the other to step the feet onto the earth. Notice how the shoulders feel beneath the heart, resting on the earth. Is there room for them to rest a little flatter, a little closer to the earth? Can you tuck one shoulder blade and then the other underneath you? How does that feel? Softening there. Maybe you're exhaling the chin to the notch in the collarbone to find a little length through the back of the neck. And then you're checking in with this. Feet resting on the earth. Maybe you have some space to walk the heels a little closer to the sitting bones. How does that feel? Maybe this is where you're going to stay. Maybe the arms are extended, palms down. And maybe this is where you're staying, just actively connected to the earth through the soles of the feet, the palms of the hands, and the shoulders. The back of the head rests. Breath is smooth. Maybe you're bending the elbows so that now the palms face each other and the fingertips point up to the ceiling. The upper arms root to the earth. Maybe you notice as the upper arms root to the earth, the front body is allowed to open. The back body becomes a little active, shoulder blades hugging a little closer together, but there's no effort. Then we root into the soles of the feet, aware of the inner thighs gently hugging together, but the knees don't touch. Maybe this is where we stay. Maybe we'd like to guide the body with the breath. So with the exhale, we find that foundation again, backs of the arms, soles of the feet, and we inhale, the hips lift into bridge pose. And that would look very different in each one of us. Exhaling, maybe we roll down or land on the sacrum, not forcing the curve out of the lower back. Maybe we move in and out of the pose, keeping the awareness in the foundation, allowing the breath to guide us. Aware of the back body lifting, supporting, so the front body can expand. Maybe with your next inhale, you experiment with lifting the heart up and towards the chin. It's subtle, exhaling, rolling down, keeping the neck peaceful, the jaw released. Experimenting in bridge pose and rolling out of it. Maybe you'd like to experiment with resting in the stillness of bridge pose. And you're rooting into that foundation, committed to the foundation, inhaling, lifting up, tucking the shoulder blades a little closer together, maybe. Inhaling, rooting into those strong legs, lifting the hips a little higher. The heart opens towards the chin. The gaze is soft. Maybe you're staying here. Maybe you're rolling back down to the floor. Maybe you're committing to that left leg and drawing the right knee to the chest and then inhaling that right heel to the ceiling. Exhaling, lowering that foot back down. How's the breath? Maybe you'd like to try the other side. Exhaling, right knee, left knee in, and then reaching that heel up. Rooting into that right foot, lifting the hips, rooted into the shoulders. Exhale, knee bends, foot floats down, and you slowly roll out of the pose, letting the arms float back to the earth. Maybe the knees stay bent and the feet walk wide. Maybe you slide one leg and then the other to extend out onto the earth. Find the breath. Exhale, release, soften, sigh the breath out. What do you need to do to let that go? To let the body go? Whether or not you chose to experiment, there still might be some efforting in the body. One more deep inhale and softening, releasing exhale. And then draw one knee and then the other in. And maybe you get some movement, but you're moving slowly, allowing the breath to guide you. Maybe you're resting in stillness with the knees hugging in, aware of the thighs resting against the belly. Soften through the shoulders. Maybe the palms of the hands are in back of the knees. And we draw the knees out to the side of the ribs. Kind of, if they could rest into your armpits, that's where they would land. And then maybe we experiment with opening up the backs of the knees so the soles of the feet are parallel with the ceiling. Happy baby. Maybe this is where we're staying, aware of the foundation, of the opening. Maybe we walk the hands up to the shins or the ankles. Maybe you can take a yogi toe grip, peace fingers around the big toes. But how are your shoulders? So maybe you soften a little. Maybe you exhale, gather the belly, and rock side to side. So that you have a gentle massage in the lower back. Muscles on either side of the spine. Allow a hip opening. With your exhale, find stillness. Allow the knees to come together and the feet to float back down to the earth. Walking the feet the width of the mat. With your next exhale, both knees float over to the side. With your inhale, they float up to center. With your exhale, the other side. Finding a flow. Coming into windshield wiper, using the breath to guide you. With your next inhale, allow the knees to float up and the feet to walk back to center, extending one leg and then the other. Inhaling the right arm alongside your ear, Walking both legs over to the left, keeping the hips and shoulders on the floor. Maybe you shift the shoulders over to the left and then allow the breath, observe the breath fill the right side body. Maybe there's some space to walk those legs a little further. Oh, but did the right hip lift? Then you've gone too far. So equal weight in both hips. Did the right shoulder lift? Is that still resting on the earth? Always checking in with the body to notice, are you efforting? With your next inhale, coming back to neutral, legs extended straight off the hips, lowering that right arm. Extending through the left arm, finding an easy way to keep the arm overhead. Maybe it's more out to the side than overhead on this side. Then walking both legs over to the right, pausing there, maybe shifting the shoulders a little to the right. Then allowing the breath, observing the breath fill the left side body. Notice what you notice without judging it. Can you soften, release, let go? Maybe there's space to come a little further over. Maybe you're softening out of the pose. With your next inhale, walking the legs back under the hips, shifting the shoulders and softening that left arm alongside the body. Big inhale, maybe sighing out the exhale. Gathering the belly, drawing the knees in for another hug. Maybe rocking side to side. Maybe making some circles so that the palms rest on the knees and you draw the knees out and around. And reverse the circles. And finding stillness there. Maybe you'd like to take an inversion, legs up the wall. If you have a chair nearby, you can always use the chair and rest the lower legs on the seat of the chair. And this is an inversion. Maybe you like to take a supported legs up the wall and you come into bridge pose, place a block under your hips, or maybe scooting your hands under your hips and extending the legs. Maybe you have a wall nearby and you like to scoot your hips over to the wall and allow the legs to rest on the wall. Maybe you're not taking an inversion today. And you're finding the breath as you rest in Shavasana pose, corpse pose. Everyone completes their practice with an inversion or not. Maybe you stay here for Shavasana. Maybe you want to take a final spinal twist. Just experiment with what if the body's become a little more open, if you have a little more space without judging it. So you're taking a final spinal twist, maybe so many different twists, options. Your practice. And maybe you're preparing for Shavasana, for rest. for our final pose. So you're gathering a blanket or a pillow or blocks to support you in the pose, and you're coming to rest on the earth. Finding the breath in the body and using it to settle into stillness, choosing stillness. Noticing how the body meets the earth, where the body meets the earth. Allowing the muscles to soften, the body to rest a little heavier. Breathing into the natural curves in the back, in the lower back and the back of the neck. Not that the breath actually goes into these spaces, but we use the breath to bring awareness and soften. And notice and allow for those natural curves, not forcing or efforting them out. Maybe you can exhale and allow the chin to soften a little towards the notch in the collarbone, the back of the neck to lengthen. If your palms are facing down, making the choice to rotate the arms in their sockets so the palms face up. And the shoulder blades rest a little flatter on the earth, supporting the heart space. And the breath moves into this opening. Aware of the rise and fall of the upper chest. Aware of the rise and fall in the belly. Aware of the expansion of the entire thoracic body as it accepts the breath. Subtle because the breath is soft. Letting go of the control and returning to your natural rhythm. Aware of the gentle pause between the breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose if possible. And using those exhales to soften the space between the eyes. To allow the eyes to rest heavy into the back of the head. To allow the forehead to melt towards the earth. And all the muscles surrounding the eyes soften and release. Using the exhales to soften the jaw. To release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. To allow the lips to gently meet. And the entire face, muscles in the face melt to the earth. Safe, secure, supported, nowhere to go, nothing to do. Witnessing the breath in this moment. Aware of the body resting on the earth. Aware of the body breathing. aware of the thoughts as they float in, and then making the choice to allow them to float away. Gently coming back to the moment and the body breathing. Letting go of all efforting, but still aware of the body resting and the rhythm of the breath as it moves in and out of the body. Restoring the body with the breath. Breathing into the wise heart, the earth beneath you, the vast sky above, and the wise heart that rests between the two. Allowing your sand to settle and the water to become clear. Allowing yourself to rest in the moment, using the breath to guide you, to bring you into that stillness and the clarity that comes with the stillness. To rest in the center of your circle and allow life to take its course around you. There are choices we can make, things we can control, and things we can't control. And we just let it circle around us. Just watching. Always the choice to check in, see how we feel. Follow the path that works for us. To find the easy way. Way that allows us to stay in the present moment, guided by the breath, so that we can respond and not react. So that we can keep that sense of peace in the mind and the body and the spirit. Practicing compassion for ourselves. What if resting in the present moment is easy? What if there's a wisdom to the practice of awareness and resting in the stillness of the present moment? So we experiment with letting it be easy in the body. With letting it be easy in the breath. With letting it be easy in the heart. Letting it be easy in the mind. Letting it be easy to rest in freedom. Easy to rest in the wisdom, in the moment, in the freedom. Slowly becoming aware of your body resting on the earth. Becoming aware of the space surrounding you. Gently deepening your inhales and exhales. And slowly bringing your body back from stillness. Softly rubbing the fingertips together. Wiggling the toes. Maybe slowly turning your head from side to side. With a deep awakening inhale, extending through the fingertips. And then softening the arms to a comfortable position as you bend one knee and then the other to step the feet softly onto the earth. Transitioning here, feeling more awake and alert with every inhale. Maybe noticing what your practice has given to you today. And how will you take that practice off your mat and into your life? Using your arm as a pillow, rolling over to one side or the other. Filling the front and back of the heart space with breath. And bringing to mind the intention that you started with. Keeping it, changing it, and repeating it softly to yourself one more time. Maybe keeping your eyes softly closed and pressing into the earth to walk yourself up to a comfortable, easy, seated position. And with your inhale, the arms extend. And with your exhale, the palms float together through the heart center to rest there. And we lift our hearts. We bow our heads to honor that perfect light that shines in all of us and unites us. My teachers encouraged me to practice continuously with a steady heart and to offer this practice to be the benefit of all beings. May all beings be safe. May they be healthy. May all beings be happy. May they find their freedom. May they know peace. And may all beings walk through the world with ease. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your practice with me.
Namaste.